This is me. This is my beloved wife, Sylvia. This is Sylvia's idea of sailing. This is my dream of sailing and my hope of circumnavigating the globe as a retirement project in 2029. This is Sylvia's reaction to that idea. I am on a 6-year quest to convince Sylvia that a circumnavigation is a wonderful adventure, but the clock is ticking, so join me as I search for the perfect yacht that Sylvia will love, and get all your ladies to subscribe and cheer Sylvia on in the comments. Welcome back to Naval Gazing at Camp David. This week, we're heading to Australia, home of this week's future yacht, the beautiful and innovative Portofino 52. Today, we will 1. Review its specifications, pricing, and layout against 3 similar new vessels. 2. Do a full tour asking, what would Sylvia say? 3. Naval gaze at an innovation or technology that just might make life aboard a little easier. 4. Have a look at the used market for 3 to 5-year-old comparables. And 5. Give it a Dave score and compare the result with all our previously reviewed yachts. As always, all this fun will be sandwiched between a pairing of wine and a work of art from the same region as the guest yacht in an effort to capture the culture and people who gave birth to these wonderful vessels. Waves, wine, art, and ideas. What a civilized way to spend 30 minutes, so let's get going. From high above Vancouver, we head southeast down to St. Francis Bay, South Africa, and the home of last week's future yacht, the beautiful Balance 502. Next, we jump northeast all the way to the UAE and the yards of Portofino Marine, home of this week's future yacht, the stunning Portofino 52. Finally, because there are no wineries in the UAE, we make a big hop northwest to the country of Portofino's designers, where there is lots of wine, and the Conterno Fantino Winery in Italy for this week's wine pairing, Barbera d'Alba Contino Fantino Vinota 2018. Fantino Winery was founded in 1982 by Claudio Conterno and Guido Fantino. Today, they cultivate 27 hectares of vines and produce about 140,000 bottles per year, split into the 4 varietals, Nebbiolo, Barbera, Dolcetto, and Chardonnay. Through the years, the 2 founders were joined by Alda, Fabio, and Elisa Fantino in various roles. Soon, Noemi and Matteo will join them. In all, during peak times, the winery employs about 10 people. Environment, sustainability, preserving biodiversity, respect for the land and its heritage are the guiding principles in their vineyards, which are organically cultivated. With the goal of further reducing their environmental impact, the 2008 winery expansion utilized various technical improvements with the aim of energy conservation, such as solar panels and geothermal systems, and finally, the use of wetlands specifically set up for wastewater purification. The Conterno Fantino Winery styles its wines with the primary goal of reflecting their own identity, from painstaking manual selection of the fruit to harvest by hand using small crates, from preserving the aromas of the vineyard with the spontaneous fermentation from indigenous yeasts, from the careful use of wood for the aging of the wines to the minimal use of sulfates, right up to the bottle aging.
Oh, that's lovely. Let's go have a look at that yacht. Cheers.
Looking at the exterior of this beautiful Portofino 52, you would be hard-pressed to know just by looking at it that this is an aluminum hull vessel. Every crease and form on it screams an absolute beautiful composite hull, and yet it is the strength, durability, and safety of all aluminum. Absolutely a gorgeous execution, right down to these fantastic retractable centerboard keels so that you can actually bring it up on the dry. Absolutely a gorgeous vessel. If what you're seeing here gets you thinking about purchasing a yacht, please mention the channel to the manufacturer broker. I love hearing from viewers that their dream purchases may have started here, and who knows, the mention might just get me an invite on a test sail or two. If you don't have a contact at your target yacht brand, feel free to drop me a line at dave@navalgazing@campdavid.com, and I'd be thrilled to connect you to the right person. Of course, if you're enjoying the content, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, then share the channel with a couple of friends and hit the like button. It's free and really helps the channel. You can also join our crew on Patreon, where you can enjoy ad-free viewing as well as downloads of the Excel specifications and PowerPoint layout comparisons while helping the channel for a few dollars a month. You can find a link to the Naval Gazing at Camp David Patreon channel in the description below, where you can also click to receive information on some really cool virtual sailing training. Having a look at our profiles here, we are comparing 4 new yachts here: the Van R6, the Slider 55, the Explocat 52, and the Portofino 52. And of course, the commonality here is that these are all contemporary aluminum hull catamarans. You can see, really, they all have a very lovely profile. The R6 is a little chunky, but you get a lot of space inside that. The Slider 55, probably the most aggressive of the 4. The Explocat, a very, very practical, beautifully executed luxury cruiser. And the Portofino 52, certainly one of the most innovative of the 4. Moving to the overhead view, you can see the Van R6 is all business. There's no overhead lounges or anything of that nature. It is external aft helms, and that central aft winch area reminiscent of katanas of old. But you do have a lovely front cockpit that is fully accessible straight through from the lounge. That's a big plus. The Slider 55, very interesting. Again, aft helm, well, sort of aft helms, almost aft helms, but they are exposed. You also get, as you can see, beautiful little gin and tonic seats at the back of this one. On the top, you don't see it on this render, but they do have an optional rooftop lounge area, so a fly lounge. They call it the Sly Fly. And then forward, there is no defined cockpit, but you do have factory cushions that can go up there. You also have a standard dinghy lift on the aft. You can't really see it there. It's hidden by the dinghy itself. The Explocat, again, all business. It's got a single mid-bulkhead helm. It also has a beautiful forward cockpit, as you can see there. Really very practical vessel. The Barefoot Doctors did a fabulous review of this one. And then the Portofino 52. Now, it used to have a fly lounge. It used to actually be a full fly bridge. However, with the Barefoot Doctors' input on this, they have taken it to a single mid-bulkhead helm and utilized the full cabin top for things like solar and such. It does have an absolutely gorgeous front cockpit, fully accessible from the saloon area. And it has these wonderful aft, you can just barely see it on the 2 sugar scoops, aft hatches that on one side lead straight into the master bath, on the other side head straight into a wet room where you can store all your foulies and your scuba gear and all that good stuff. It really is very, very innovative. One thing you can't really see here is on the front trampoline. Just to the side of the longeron, there is a not retractables, not a liftable staircase that drops down, allowing you easy access into the water from the front lounge. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, right there we've seen multiple innovations. That front staircase, the 2 aft access points straight onto the sugar scoop, into the cabins and the wet room. And of course, you've got that beautiful forward cockpit. Heading into the interior on all of them here, you can see that all but the Slider have full forward cockpit access here. really cool. The Van R6, the Explocat 52, and the Portofino 52. Everybody loves that forward cockpit. And the Van R6, you can see it's a massive open space inside. What's even more interesting is you can elect to extend that saloon all the way back and enclose the aft cockpit, so it's all interior living area. It would be palatial, to say the least. The Slider 55, again, the only one, oh, sorry, the Portofino and the Slider both have retractable dinghy lifts on them. The Slider itself, you can see those aft helms and then the aft gin and tonic seats. You can see the very nice sized cockpit there, and moving into a very comfortable saloon with an aft kitchen and a forward settee and a full forward facing nav desk. This, along with the Van R6, you can extend to enclose the full aft cockpit into the living area. Now, what isn't shown here is on the Slider now, and you'll see it in the renders that we show you in next week's video. There is actually a lounge, a large daybed, if you will, center aft of the cockpit, just in front of the dinghy. So it's a lot more than just the settee we see in this particular layout, which is really nice. As such, you really get the best of both worlds when you fully enclose the cockpit area, because you still have a significant outdoor aft cockpit relaxation area with that lovely lounger they have. The Explocat 52, just a really practical, robust vessel with a lot of nifty little things like a boot drying area that's fully heated, a Fowley's closet that's heated to dry them, a very traditional layout, as you can see, with a forward-facing nav, the forward settee, aft port side sort of C-shaped, almost G-shaped galley. Really, a really nice traditional layout with a full owner's suite on the starboard side. Portofino 52, really, again, a wicked innovation on the aft cockpit, which is a settee in the aft that rises up with the press of a button and becomes a full kitchen. Absolutely cool. And a huge aft cockpit, as you can see there. Lots of space to entertain and relax. And then, of course, you have a very attractive linear galley along the port side with a lovely island. It's a really nice layout. And then your settee aft to the starboard. Really a very cool setup here. And again, I want to point out those aft doors on each sugar scoop that lead straight into the interior. And speaking of the interior, let's pop down into the hulls. The Van R6, so you can see the owner's hull on the port side with that very nice aft thwartship berth. And then moving forward, gobs of space, a palatial bathroom, twin sinks, all that good stuff. Those are big hulls. Now, your performance is probably going to show that, but I mean, gosh, this is a robust circumnavigator if ever there was one. Going to the Slider, you have what's interesting on the starboard hull, your guest hull, the forward berth, a double, is relatively walk around. I'd call it a 3/4 walk around. The aft berth is a butt scoot, as is the aft berth on the owner's side, on the port side. Very nice layout in this scenario with a desk area, closets, and forward, very large forward head and shower area. Very, very nicely done. And the finish that Slider executes that we saw in their 49 is absolutely gorgeous. Explocat 52, again, just a really classic layout. They are butt scoot beds. And you've got your owner's hull on the port side, starboard side, sorry, and of course loads of room there. The whole hull is yours, and so you've got a very large ensuite and all that good stuff. The Portofino 52. This is really cool. Again, innovation. So you have, I'm showing you the 4-cabin version here, which gives you an owner's suite on the starboard aft with a midship, a thwartship berth, which isn't too high. And so I'm thinking that that's going to be a very comfortable area with minimal motion in heavy seas. And then you've got a beautiful large aft bathroom head area there. And again, you can see how you can exit direct out onto the sugar scoop right from your master bedroom suite. Forward, you have a small double in the forepeak there. Over onto the starboard side, you've got your entrance into a wet room off the aft sugar scoop, which leads to a full engine room, technical room there that you can see. So there is no hall past it as there is on the starboard side in the owner's suite. Then you've got a 4-aft queen size that appears to be 3/4 walk around, and you've got a forward a thwartship similar to a Bali-esque sort of a scenario there. So wow, super comfortable, super flexible and functional with those wet rooms, with the access, dual access out of your owner's suite. With lots of nice walk-around berths for you and your guests. An absolutely gorgeous layout. Probably definitely the most innovative of the bunch. Okay, getting into the numbers now. Looking across the top line, we've got the Van R6 at 2.45 euros. We got the slider at 1.8. We got the Explocat at 1.826. And we have the Portofino at a stunning 1.461. Very, very nice. Now, getting down to your sail away, I've got the numbers a little bit wrong here, and I'll tell you why. So the Van R6, the slider, the Van R6, the Explocat, and the Portofino all adhere to my average rule of thumb, base plus 50% for your sail away. But out of curiosity, I did a deep dive into the slider and spec'd it out and discovered I was hard pressed to find another 250,000 euro to tag on to that. So most absolutely not the 900 additional that I would typically put on, and that, as you can see, I put on here. So really, you'd really only be able to tag on 250, maybe 300, taking that to about 2.1 million euro, so about 2.2 million USD for sail away, which, as you can see on the sail away, puts it really on a relative par, I would say, with the Portofino 52. And these are two very different boats. But I mean, the Portofino is a heck of a value at a 2.346 sail away for a 55-foot luxury, innovative, full aluminum exploration yacht. And wait until you see the finishes they're achieving on that aluminum hull. It doesn't look like the butt ugly aluminum exploration yachts of old. Looking at length overall, the longest is the Van R6 at 58 feet. Then you've got the slider at 56.4. You've got the Garcia at 55.61 and the Portofino 52 at 55. Length at the waterline on the Van is the same, 58 foot. The slider is 54.8. The Explocat 51.25 and the Portofino at 51. Your beam on these, the beamiest is, again, the Van R6 at 29.74 feet. This is where it shifts up a bit. The Portofino gives you a full 28 feet, which is, a full foot wider than the slider and Garcia, which are both at 27 feet. And if you add that all the way down the full length, you're getting a lot more surface area boat there to enjoy. The draft on these, I could not find it for the Van R6. But if you look at the draft of the others here, the Portofino 52 and the Slider 55 are obviously variable draft because of the Slider's dagger boards and the Portofino's retractable center boards. I'm not sure that's the appropriate word for those, but help me out. So the least draft would go to the Portofino at 0.75 meters, or a sparse 2.46 feet. The Slider would be 1.4 with the daggers up, or 4.4 feet. And the Explocat, not bad at 1.5 meters, or about 5 feet. The bridge deck clearance on these, I could really only find it for the Van R6 and the Slider, and in both cases they're hair apart at about 3 feet, which is really quite good. You're not going to get a lot of slapping there. Looking at the light ship displacement, this should raise an eyebrow or two. So the Van R6 is the heaviest at 47,400 pounds, or about 21.5 ton. The next one, really they're tied, the Explocat and the Portofino. The Explocat just a hair heavier at 18.6 ton, and the Portofino at 18.5 ton. Now this is where it gets interesting. The Slider 55 is 15.7 ton, and my understanding is initially they were going with an aluminum hull and a GRP composite deck and a coach roof. They've now gone full aluminum, and I was talking to Marcus, and he indicated that it was going to be even lighter with the full aluminum coach top, which is fascinating. I mean, 15.7 ton for a full aluminum 56-foot catamaran with daggers. Wow, that's a pretty cool vessel. Payload capacity. I could only find this for the Slider and the Garcia. The Slider is a fairly sparse 3.3 ton, and the Garcia is 5.8 ton. Really quite reasonable. Again, a very robust circumnavigator. Upwind sail area, heading across these. Again, even though it's the lightest, the Slider is in the lead by a significant degree at 2,368 square feet. The next one is the Van R6, which it needs to be, at 1,884 square feet. And again, the Garcia and Portofino, very similar. The Portofino, or the Garcia, at 1,798 square feet, 1,798 square feet, and the Portofino at 1,744 square feet. Looking down at the engines, the R6 is pure electric, very similar to the Winderlow format, with 25 kilowatt, dual 25 kilowatt electric motors, and a large battery bank and a range extender generator. The Slider is a parallel hybrid using a German manufacturer, so that you can have it on any diesel you want. So you could have your Yanmars, your twin 57 Yanmars, and 2 times 20 kilowatt motors. Your Garcia Explocat is twin 60s diesel, and your Portofino's twin 80s on that vessel. Fuel tanks and water tank capacities. The Van R6, again, pretty sparse. It's early in its design. But here it is overall, the Slider at 1,000 liters each. The Garcia has 1,173, so 1,200 liters of fuel and 660 liters of water. And the Portofino has 1,200 liters of fuel and 800 liters of water. Black water capacity, could only get this for the Slider, Garcia, and Portofino. So it is the Portofino in the lead at 440 liters, followed by the Slider at 400 liters, and the Garcia at 150 liters of black water. Going to these numbers that I wish every manufacturer delivered, but really only Balance delivers in whole, although Marcus at Slider really did his best effort and managed to deliver on almost all of them here. And I got just a few out of the Explocat 52, so nothing on the R6 and the Portofino 52. Again, need you guys to talk to your brokers and your manufacturers representatives and get them to start including this important livability data. So interior area, the Slider has 517 square feet, about the size of a very expensive Vancouver condo. Trust me. Exterior area, 549 square feet. We don't have interior enclosed storage or exterior locker capacity for any of them. Total fridge capacity on the Slider is about 8 cubic feet, 8.19 cubic feet. And then on the Explocat, it's about 6.7 or 7 cubic feet. And total freezer capacity on the Slider is about 5.1 cubic feet, and on the Explocat, 6.4 cubic feet. As we go across hull material, of course, you can see all of these are aluminum. I'm a little behind the times on the Slider update. It was, as I said, going to be a GRP structure above the hull line, but now it is fully aluminum. System voltage, I believe it's 48 on the Slider and the Van R6, 24 on the Explocat, and 2448 on the Portofino. Battery banks, found it for the Slider at 30 kilowatt hour standard, and on the Garcia it's a 6 kilowatt hour standard. Then max factory capacity for the Slider is 50 kilowatt hours. Couldn't find it anywhere else. Max factory solar for the Slider is 5 kilowatts, and the Garcia 2.275 kilowatts. Slider is flexible, and the Garcia is glass and flexible. Getting into where the rubber hits the road on performance, we start with sail area to displacement, or an indicator of power. Ahead by a long shot is the Slider at 35.6. Next up is the Garcia, which is 24.1. Then it's the Portofino 52 at 23.5. And finally, the R6 at 23 even. Looking at displacement to hull length, or indicator of heaviness, here it's the lowest number wins, and you got the Slider again ahead by a long shot at a very low 93.9. The next one is the Van, which is surprising at 108.5. Then it's the Garcia at 136, and not, I guess, terribly surprising, the Portofino with all that area inside at 137.3. What all this translates to in the KSP, or the theoretical performance at 10 knots of wind, you've got the Slider at an astonishing 97% of wind speed, which is way up there with the Outre-mers and, almost gunboats of the world. The next is the Van, which surprises me at 76, but it's really, hair-splitting. The next is the Garcia at 75, and the Portofino 52 at a very respectable 74%. Now, keep in mind that 97% that we saw with the Slider, just to put this into perspective, and as well comparing the Portofino 52. You've got the Portofino 52 at 74%, and you have the Slider at 97%. So let's look at some boats we think are fast. The Outre-mer 52, 88%. The Katana, 80%. And the Neil 52, 84%. So I think this does point out that the Portofino, although a reasonably performing vessel, is a cruising yacht. It's not a performance cruising yacht. It's a very good performing cruising yacht. Whereas, say, something like a Slider is well up into almost a pure performance yacht in its actual capabilities. Okay, hopping on board. What would Sylvia say? Well, I think Sylvia would love it. And before we jump in too far, I want to show you what the finish on the outside of the Portofino looks like. This is the Portofino 47 hull number 1, as shown on the Barefoot Doctors channel in their recent visit to Dubai. And holy mackerel, this does not look like any aluminum yacht I have seen from the past or even the present. There's one Dutch manufacturer that does monohulls with a finish of this caliber, but certainly none of the others that we have seen look this good. I don't know what it is about aluminum yachts and everybody's desire to have them terrible swirl aluminum look to them that it just looks hideous. This looks fantastic. Look at the creases and the lines on this vessel. Look at the artistic cut-in at the aft sugar scoop. I mean, every angle on here, the rooftop over your helm station, absolutely freaking gorgeous. The forward cockpit, those beautiful doors in the aft areas. Let's get into some naval gazing and a topic that's near and dear to my heart. It doesn't matter how new the vessel is that I walk onto, but is somebody from sort of outside the mainstream yachting environment, I walk below and I smell, that humidity, that dank, bilgy, you know the smell I'm talking about. It makes everything feel old and just a little disgusting. And it doesn't matter if it's a 2-year-old Balance 482, a 2-year-old HH50, or something older than that. They all seem to have this smell, and it's due to a poor atmosphere management process, and I don't understand why we have it today, because we have the technology to really overcome it.
We have the technology.
And one of those technologies is SEAFLO's new patent-pending dry bilge system. So a lot of that smell comes from the sort of centimeter or 2 of bilge water that's left in your bilges. And you can just imagine, mix that with a little grease, oil, diesel fuel, let it sit there in a humid environment and collect Lord knows what, and you have that smell, especially when you mix it with a very humid laden tropical environment. So the problem is that inch or so of water never gets picked up by your typical float system bilge pumps. So the SEAFLO Dry Bilge System is the most economical and reliable way to keep your bilge clean and completely dry. As I mentioned, traditional bilge pumps and float switches leave at least 3/4 of an inch of water in your bilge at all times. This still water can lead to mold, mildew, mustiness, odors, rot, and affect the integrity of your hull and its components. And those are all the nasty smells that we smell when we walk into these boats. The SEAFLO Dry Bilge System removes all still water from the lowest part of your bilge or other water-containing compartments. The system is self-priming up to 25 feet, so it can be mounted remotely from the suction foot. The system is activated either by the easy-to-use programmable timer or manually by a toggle switch. Activate the system as much or as little as you'd like, depending on your vessel and conditions. This system also greatly increases bilge pump and float switch lifetimes because of their reduced use. Now you combine that with a decent dehumidifier system that we've discussed in previous naval gazing sessions, and Bob's your uncle, you have a fresh smelling vessel with a proper atmospheric control for the moisture-laden environments that you're going to. For goodness sakes, you're living on the water. Surely we should get that out of the air. Okay, back on board, starting at the aft port sugar scoop and looking across this absolutely gorgeous cockpit. I mean, they really have finished it off really, really nicely. The Italian designers have done a brilliant job, and I am just dying to see how this looks in real life. Again, scanning the other way across to the port side, you can see those access doors out of, in this case, we're looking at that wet room. Here we're looking at it from the starboard side, and you can see in the foreground on the starboard side, or the right side of our screen, that door that goes back in. Here again, you can see it. Now this one doesn't have the raisable barbecue on it. It has a settee here. Here is that raisable aft barbecue. There's your settee that we talked about, and then you press a nifty little button and Bob's your uncle. There is your full aft kitchen, and if that doesn't turn your crank, I don't know what will. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's move up to the helm now, and it really is a nice place. Again, you got that permanent front glass windshield, which I really like. And again, it's reverse slant to reduce the glare. But what a beautiful setup, and a beautiful helm roof on there with a window you can see your sails with. Moving up to the bow here, again, just if you look there, not only can you see that lovely forward cockpit, but there's your staircase that drops into the water, giving you wonderful, easy access from your trampoline and forward cockpit right into the water, and of course right out of the water. I generally hate ladders that are on boats. My ski boat had one. It was just too small and was really painful getting up and out. These wonderful retractable staircases like Hansa has on their 548 are terrific. Okay, we're back looking at the aft section here and heading into the saloon. We're on the aft port side looking across. You can see that lovely door out to the forward cockpit. Very nice center island, rounded corners, really beautiful sink there, nice embedded pot lights, a lovely retractable table here. We're at the aft starboard looking across. You can see forward there's your nav station. You can see your galley, your lengthwise galley, and that terrific countertop there. And here we are on the port side looking straight across from the galley that we'd be in right now, looking across the island. You can see your lovely forward-facing nav station. We're going to head down now into the starboard passenger side berth. The starboard passenger berth. This would not be the VIP berth. But you still have a lot of nice space. Now we're in your master suite, and what a beautiful suite it is. As we look aft here, we're going to head past. You can remember the engine room is just inboard there, and now we're in the aft head here, looking aft through the shower, a lovely shower stall there, that lovely aft exit onto the aft sugar scoop. Absolutely gorgeous, filled with light. As you can imagine, you've got loads of light coming through those transparent aft doors. Here we are now looking forward. You can see the shower stall there, a lovely rainfall shower head on it. But, you know, just a gorgeous environment that you could really enjoy. You've got that little hallway past, and then heading now past, this is past the bed, you've got your desk area there, your makeup table, and then up and out we come. You're looking aft now around the saloon from the galley area, and we're just going to spin around and go down now past the galley and into the other hull to see your guest accommodations. Here we are looking forward at that lovely forward athwartship berth. Lots of room. Yeah, it's a little up there, but wow, do you have lots of room, and the design, the aesthetic is absolutely fantastic. Remember the price on this. This is the most cost-effective of the bunch we looked at. And it's an aluminum hull. Like, you don't have to fear in this boat. And it has all the comforts of home and does 74% of wind speed with retractable centerboards. I mean, wow, what an innovative boat. Look at the size of those port side windows. Wow. Sorry, the hull, the hull windows, the hull ports. I'm combining a whole bunch of nautical terms in the wrong way here. Here we are now looking aft. at your VIP guest suite with a full 3-side walk around, massive picture window, beautiful overhead hatch, lots of airflow. And here's the trick. Look at this bit of innovation. Very similar to the southerly monohulls, where it has that center board that's retractable. It'll drop down as you need it, and it'll pop back up when you don't, allowing you to dry out on the beach if you want to. Now, seems to be a lot of focus of drying out on the beach. I can't imagine wanting to do that. Let's get into your pre-owned comparables. What exactly are we going to compare this to? Well, first up is a beautiful Outremer 55, a 2023 gorgeous vessel, 1 year old. They're asking 2.4 million versus our 2.346. I'm sorry, I love the 55, but I would do the Portofino if it turns out to be what it promises to be in a heartbeat. I will sacrifice the, I think it was about 10 points of wind speed delta there for the safety and comfort of the Portofino. And quite honestly, the Portofino, again, being a more luxury-centric vessel, will certainly lean towards a far more comfortable aesthetic. Not to mention the dozens of innovations, the aft walkouts onto the sugar scoops, the wet rooms, the retractable centerboards, the forward staircase into the water, the retractable aft kitchen. I mean, it just goes on and on, not to mention your full 3-side walk-around berths, so there's no butt scoot. So, yeah, for $100,000 less, I'd go with the brand new Portofino 52. Next up, we are looking at the beautiful Naisna 550. And that's a 2021, so we're looking at a 3-year-old boat. They're asking 1.8 million US for this. Versus 2.346. I really love the Naisna and what they do, but the livability of that Portofino, along with that aluminum hull and the innovations on board, if I had the cash, I would pay the 550 extra, and I would go with the Portofino 52. Next up, we're looking at an 019 Bally 54. This is a big girl. She's got, every amount of space you'd ever want. She's got the forward massive cockpit you can play football on. She is a full fly bridge. She's got massive interior space with that extended aft, the aft cockpit being enclosed. And they're asking 1.3 versus 2.3 for the Portofino. Again, if I had the cash, I'd spend the money. I would spend the extra mil. Just simply because the Portofino is a better overall performer for sailing. And I'm in love with the aluminum hull. It's also the most environmentally friendly hull material that we currently have available. No disrespect to Windalow, but aluminum, I mean, you just cut it up and remelt it. And there's a lot of features on that Portofino that if I had the cash, I mean, obviously I'm not going to turn up my nose at a lovely Bally 54, but if I had the cash, the Portofino would win on this one. And next up, we are looking at a 2023, a 1-year-old Lagoon 55. Now, this is luxury personified, but it is 2.4 million simoleons. And our Portofino sail away is 2.346. And I mean, again, the level of luxury finish and aesthetic is far closer on this than it would have been on the Outremer, but it's not to the level that we see indicated in those renders. So if they deliver on that aesthetic, and the Lagoon is a lovely vessel, but she is not a performer. She won't come close to the Portofino in the numbers. and she is not an innovative boat. She doesn't have the features that the Portofino are offering here. Next up is the Katana 53, an 019, so a 5-year-old boat. And we're looking at 1.6, but 1.7 versus our 2.346. Now, the Katana 53, gorgeous vessel, full vinyl ester hull. It's a performer. It's well finished on the interior. It's a really, really nice boat. It doesn't have the features that necessarily the Portofino has, but in this case, I would do the Katana 53 and, bank the $700,000-800,000 difference. I would still be jealous of the Portofino, but I would then look at my bank balance and be happier. Really, that's 1 out of 5 that I wouldn't go directly to the Portofino. Next up, monohull heresy. Well, what do we do with such an innovative multi-hull in the monohull environment? First up, we are looking at an MCP Global EXP 66. It's a 68-foot yacht. And they're asking $3.1 million versus our 2.346. Not a hope. It would be the Portofino. Next is a C&B 66 2018. So we're looking at a 6-year-old boat, and it's gorgeous. The C&B 66 is a stunning vessel at 1.822. If I got 1.8, I'm sure I can squeeze out another $500,000, and I would do the Portofino. Next is going to be the 2019 Baltic 67, a real performer, but at $3.4 million versus 2.346 for a full aluminum luxury catamaran. I'm sorry, I'm going Portofino. Next is a Hansa 675. This is a beast of a boat. She is big and beautiful. And they're asking 1.2 US. This one, I'd hesitate. It's just such an amazing vessel. I don't think I could handle it single-handed, but if I could handle it single-handed, I'd do this over the Portofino simply because of the innovate. This is a very innovative boat, from an electric sunroof within your saloon to the beautiful hard top to any number of. The forward master's berth with the athwartship angled queen size. It's just palatial. This thing would, raise eyebrows anywhere you went. So I'd call it a tie on this one. And next up is a 2023 Jeanneau 65. They're asking 1.575. So, we're looking at another, 800 in the bank again. I would probably bank the 800 and do the Jeanneau 65. It's got enough to it that would be very, very comfortable. And again, the 800 in my bank would make me very, very comfortable. So again, I think we're only 1 out of the 5 that didn't go to the Portofino. That's a pretty darn good score. And speaking of scores, let's look at the Dave score. Okay, we'll hit that list down. Oh my, Portofino hits very, very quickly. We're in the top 10 there for sure. And what do we have here? So we're looking at interior elegance is an 8 out of 10, and that could climb depending on what the final result is. The exterior is a 9 out of 10. They've just done an amazing job. This is an attractive catamaran. The comfort is a 9 out of 10 on the interior. You've got those athwartship berths, full 3-sided access, even on the one of the 4 aft berths. Absolutely beautifully executed. The exterior comfort, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The only reason it's not 9 is they sacrificed the upper fly lounge. I would have at least kept the fly lounge similar to a Leopard, and it would have gone to a 9. You'd then have your 4 full lounging areas: your aft cockpit, your forward cockpit, your saloon, and your upper fly lounge. Quality, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because we just don't know. I mean, from everything we've seen, the quality does look great, but you just don't know until we get, into hull 5, 6, 7, and of course hull number 10 really tells the tale. Performance, solid 7 out of 10. So again, this is not a performance yacht. This is not even a performance cruising yacht. This is a cruiser, but a really good one. And Lazy Sailor, 8 out of 10. Condo, 9 out of 10. I mean, holy mackerel, what more condo could you do here? Geek, 9 out of 10. This probably should be 10 out of 10. There's just so much geeky stuff here. I just absolutely love it. Value for money, I'm going to give this thing a 9 out of 10. Because, and I think the only other 9 out of 10 is the other Portofino. Oh, sorry. Cure 55 got a 9 out of 10 on value for money. It's a good value if all comes to pass. Well, there you have it for another week, our Waves, Wine, Art, and Ideas. I do hope you've enjoyed it. And as far as the art goes, I'm going to leave you with Danielle Novella, Oil on Canvas. Do hope you enjoy. Have a great week.